what's a film deliverable, what the heck is an export, what the heck is, a chain of title, what is all this paperwork that the distributor's asking you for? Like, I have no freaking idea what you guys are talking about when it comes to film deliverables. That is the question I'm going to answer in today's video. This is the next part in my independent film distribution series. I basically cut this out from the longer video that I'll have linked on screen here at the end. I did like a 2-hour deep dive on, just all the basics as far as when it comes to independent film distribution. This is the next part in the series. If you've already watched the long video that's already come out, this is just a repeat, so you don't have to watch this unless you are looking for a repeat viewing of it for reference later. This is just an abridged version, like I mentioned, for somebody who just can't watch, a 2-hour cut of something. This is just a condensed version of that. So, like I said, we're going to be talking about all things film deliverables. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so first, what are deliverables? If you've never heard the word deliverables before, you're like, what the hell is he even talking about? So deliverables are the required assets and material you must provide to a distributor or platform when signing a distribution deal. So this can include the film itself, promotional materials, legal documents, technical files necessary for the distributor to market and release your film. Having your deliverables prepared in advance speeds up the distribution process and shows you're organized and professional. So let's actually get into the different deliverables that you may, and this is not standard across every platform. Some may require more, some may require less. This is just kind of a basic list of deliverables that you can expect to have to create. So obviously the film itself, otherwise known as the master files, ProRes or a DNx HD master file are typically the most common. I would say ProRes is even more common than this. It's definitely the preferred method across pretty much every platform. Every platform, streaming platform or distributor will take ProRes. I will tell you that. So having the highest quality export of your film, typically ProRes 422 HQ or DNx HD, 185 plus format, frame rate in 23.9 frames per second, 24 frames per second, or 29.97 or 30 frames per second, depending on the region. And then the typical resolution, the most common resolution is going to be HD 1920 by 1080. Some will offer 4K, but I would say most distributors don't take 4K, but you could have a 4K file ready, if possible. And that's typically, that's a 16 by 9 file. So like if you shot in the scope aspect ratio, so the wide format, you may have black bars on the top and the bottom, and you may have to do like Film Hub, I believe requires the native format. So they don't want the letterbox. That's called letterboxing. If you got the typical aspect ratio and you got the black bars on the top and the bottom. They don't always want that. They want it just to fit the screen. And then the platform will format accordingly. But I would say the 16 by 9, 19 by 20, or 3840 by 2160, definitely the most common. If you're doing a theatrical release, a DCP, digital cinema package, they may require a DCP. You can make a DCP for free. You can actually make a DCP on Resolve for free, which is nice. And then there's another DCP place. I forgot what it's called, but I used it. It's like an open source DCP program that I actually used it for cashing out. This is the industry standard format for digital theatrical screenings. So actually, I wish I had my hard drive so I can show you what a DCP looks like. Actually, I'll dig it out real quick. Okay, so this is how extra I am. So I used to work at a movie theater, and then we would get, I went through, this is what I say, like when I went through a learning process, I went through a learning process. So DCPs will get shipped in these boxes. I don't want to show the other side because my address is on it. But they'll get shipped in a box like this. And then when you open it up, you'll have your, let's see here. You'll have your sheet that shows the different, like metadata points or whatever for it. I don't know why I'm covering this up, but I'll read what this says here in a second, but the DCP file name, the size, what format's it in, scope or flat, I did 5.1 surround, the total runtime, when the credits start so they can put light cues on it. And then please ingest and do a QC run test as soon as possible. Add a backup Blu-ray in case it didn't work for some reason, but this is typically this is the hard drive for the DCP, right? So this is your typical hard drive. It plugs into like a server. So we got the fun little button here. Like I said, this is me just going all out extra for this movie. There's actually just a regular hard drive in here. So this is just the casing for it. Now, if you're like, I don't want to go this all out, like a standard like external hard drive that you can buy on Amazon is fine too. But since I worked at a movie theater and I knew what all this stuff was, I just kind of went all out here. So that's a little nerd moment. So if I ever want to do another theatrical release, I've already got all the tools for it. I'll keep cashing out, on that hard drive, or maybe not, I don't know. But yeah, so that's what a DCP looks like. And then they may require something like a clean version with no subtitles or text. So, this just gives them the option for international distribution to add in their own translated text files if needed. So like if you have somebody, speaking like a foreign language or something in your film and you're translating it to English, you would get rid of that and then they would just put that in themselves, right? Or you might have to provide that file depending on which distribution company you're working with. Then you have your audio deliverables. So stereo is going to be your most common. That's going to be audio coming out of your left and your right channel. I would just keep it to that. If you have the ability to do a 5.1 surround sound, that's fine. But honestly, like talking to Linda over at IndieRight, she's just like, just stereo is fine. Nobody really has the 5.1 surround sound in their house. It's very uncommon. They're just watching a movie and the sound's just coming out of the left and the right of the TV. So that's definitely fine. M&E tracks or music and effects tracks. This would be a separate file of the audio containing only the music or sound effects without dialogue. So this is for international dubbing. It just makes it easier. So if you have all the sound effects, like footsteps and, movement and stuff like that, like that's already there. And then, so a foreign actor can come in, do some dubbing, and then, just place that track right over the top without actually having to cut out, all of the other dialogue. Not a requirement. Some distributors may require it, but, if they're looking to really, if the foreign strategy is really important to them, but most like Film Hub doesn't require it. IndieRights will take it, but they don't require it. So it's really more so with the traditional distributors. And then the stems, optional separate tracks for dialogue, music, and effects in case the distributor needs to make audio adjustments. Again, not a requirement, but just makes their lives easier if they decide they want to change something in the QC process. Legal and contractual documents. You'll have your chain of title. This will prove that you have that you own the film or have control of the rights. That includes copyright registration, transfer agreements, and contracts. And again, this is not every distributor is going to require this, but you could run into this depending on who you're working with. Errors in omission or E&O insurance. Many distributors require E&O insurance to protect against potential legal claims, covers defamation, copyright infringement, or privacy issues. Talent and crew releases, signed agreements from the cast and crew giving you the legal right to use their performances. Music licensing agreements, proof that you have the legal rights to use music in your film. Includes sync licenses, master use licenses, and composer agreements. Subtitles, caption, and accessibility files. So closed captions, which pretty much every distribution company is going to require. Closed caption files. It's legally required. Didn't know that. Legally required for many streaming platforms. It includes both dialogue and non-dialogue sounds like door creaks or music playing or something like that. The more common method now is SDH, which is what Film Hub requires at this point now, although I don't really know the difference between these two. But subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing, including speaker identifiers and sound effects. Speaker identifiers would typically be for a character off screen, which is typically included in the closed captions So again, I don't really know the differences between these, but it's becoming more common now. Foreign language subtitles. So if you're distributing internationally, you may need multi-language subtitles. And then the different file formats would be .srt, which is the most common closed caption file format, or .vtt. I haven't used that VTT, but it is a file format. I would say pretty much any distributor is going to ask or require a .srt file. I've never seen anybody require a VTT file. It's always been a .srt file, which if you are getting closed captions made, like say rev.com, which is where, they're not sponsored, but that's the only place I've ever used to make closed captions. They'll ask you what format do you want this in. They'll give you a list of formats, and then .srt is usually at the top. And then of course, promotional and marketing materials. You got your trailer, a 1 minute to 2 minute trailer to promote your film, usually delivered in 1920 by 1080 or 4K, also in H.264 or the ProRes format codecs. And if you need to learn more about codecs, I have a video about how to export your film for distribution somewhere on the channel, and I'll link it in the description if possible. But somewhere in the channel, I have videos explaining how to create all these deliverables. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, there's separate videos on how to create all of these. Poster artwork, high resolution poster art, 300 DPI for online and print use, including title treatments and properly formatted credits, although most platforms don't want you to have credits on your titles. Key art in multiple sizes, so you're going to have different sizes, such as 1920 by 1080 for thumbnails, or like the vertical ones for poster art. Stills and behind the scenes photos. Not a ton of these require, or not a lot of platforms or distributors require these, but it's nice to have just for behind the scenes, promotional material. Logline and synopsis. A logline is a 1 to 2 sentence summary of your film. So if you go to IMDb, you search a film, at the very top, there'll be a 1 to 2 sentence description of what the film is about. That's your logline. And then there will be a synopsis, which is a little bit longer afterwards for marketing purposes. And then a press kit or electronic press kit, EPK, which will have the synopsis, the logline, filmmaker bios, key credits, stills, etc. And that'll be used by the press and distributors to help promote your film. And then last, metadata and platform requirements. So film metadata, title, genre, runtime, cast, directors, etc. Brief and detailed descriptions for different platforms. All of them will have different ones. Like Film Hub, there's like a list of different metadata that they require. It's all easy to fill out, just basic information, but just know that you're going to have to, if you're working with a distributor, they're going to ask for this. Then platform specific requirements. Each platform has its own tech specs and deliverable requirements. An example, Apple TV and Amazon Prime require specific bit rates, audio codecs, and artwork dimensions. So just make sure you keep that in mind. Usually the distributor will just ask you for one master file, and then they will create the different ones for the different distributors. Like I've never had to make a different file for a specific platform, and I think it's becoming a lot more standardized in general. But just know if you're taking a self-distribution route, could be different requirements. So key takeaways: deliverables are essential assets required by distributors and platforms to market, sell, and stream your film. Having your deliverables ready in advance makes your film more attractive to distributors and speeds up the release process. The most common deliverables are the master film files, the master audio files, legal documents, marketing assets, and then captions and subtitles. And then a pro tip: organize your deliverables into clear label folder structures to help streamline submissions. A place like Indie Rights is going to tell you exactly how they want all of this organized, but Film Hub, for an example, they don't ask for this. So it's easier for you to kind of make like a master distribution folder and organize it properly. Using Indie Rights method of doing this is probably a good way just to standardize it. So I would just go to their website. They have a breakdown on how to do this. And then you can take, even if you don't go with Indie Rights, you can take that and use it elsewhere. And that wraps up this video in my film distribution series. So I appreciate all of you watching. The next video, we'll be talking about how to get distribution, how to avoid predatory distributors, and some final tips here to wrap up this series. Definitely be on the lookout for that one, or like I mentioned before, it's already available out on the longer version of this series. If you found this video helpful, it would mean the world to me if you subscribe to my channel and like this video to help get it out to as many people as possible. If you want to help support me directly, my feature film, Cashing Out, will be linked in the description below if you would like to watch it. And of course, I will have a couple videos linked on screen here related to this series in general. I'll have a playlist and then, the long version of this video if you just want to, skip to just watching the entire thing instead of getting all these individual breakdowns. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.